Welcome to this evening's Wacky Woo edition. Of course, a very special show this evening on Mr. T and the upcoming Fallout. Before we start the evening, please join me in welcoming all of our amazing guests this evening. On the top of the screen there, of course, is Mr. BIX Weir. You can find him at roadtoruder.com. BIX, welcome back.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited.
Oh, I'm excited to have you. And of course, please also welcome Mr. Woo Woo Dude, the dude of woo. You can find him at woowoodude.com. Richard, welcome back. How are you?
Good. It's good to be here.
Good. Thank you for being here. And of course, our regular co-host for the Wacky Woo series, Mr. JSNIP4. You can find him at Realist News and also here at JSNIP4 2 on YouTube. Joe, welcome back to the show. How are you, man?
Doing pretty good.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on this live interactive show. I see all of the chats here in YouTube on both Joe's and YouTube and my YouTube channel. And I see also that we're running live, hopefully, yes, here on the Rumble feed. Let me just double check that. We've been having some issues the last couple of days. Yes, recording live there as well. And I think I saw Cliff. Hi in the chat, Mr. Cliff. Hi. How's it going? Hi. All right, guys. The rules are as follow. The rules of engagements for this evening. We're going to start here very gently and very politely here with all the right nomenclature for YouTube for the first couple of minutes. We're going to set the stage here. I wanted to share with the audience members a couple of videos here on YouTube that we want to promote here, both on BIX Weir's channel and on Joe's channel. We're going to have that short conversation, and within about 5 minutes or so, we're going to move over to the Rumble feed for the full uncensored conversation. So let me bring that Rumble feed down here in the live chat for you guys now, so you can click on that. And if you look in the description box below, Joe's video on his YouTube channel and mine, you'll also find the link there to the Rumble feed for tonight's show. While I have you on the show, Bix, let me bring up your YouTube channel here. Last couple of days have been quite busy for you, and we're seeing more and more action now coming on in this crazy world of the precious metals. Set that up for the audience members. What happened last week with the derivatives first, and perhaps today lead us into this old webbot data report that seems to perhaps maybe gaining some traction here today. Go ahead, Vix.
Is that the $600 silver
Yes,
report
yes,
that we all know and love? Yeah, well, with the derivatives, I've been screaming. Everybody's been screaming, "Oh, derivatives are out of control. Credit Suisse was a huge derivative player. As a matter of fact, in 2021, they won Derivative Bank of the Year in 2 different categories. So something's going sideways there.
Yeah.
With the Blythe Masters kind of running the show. So really interesting time over there. I don't know what's going on with anybody other than them as far as who's gone down and who hasn't. With derivatives, it usually takes 3 to 4 weeks for everybody to kind of like pony up. But I was thinking the other day, everything that's happening now, we've been talking about for a long time. I've been talking about it since the 90s, late 90s. Right. Is when I was like, oh my God, this banking thing is a scam. I saw It's a Wonderful Life. That's real. It's true. And lo and behold, we have Silicon Valley Bank and Janet Yellen coming out saying, well, we're going to have to bail out systemic problems, but not unsystemic problems. So if it's an uninsured depositor that would be deemed systemic, we're going to bail them out. If they're unsecured depositor that is unsystemic, we won't. But here's the problem. If they don't bail out one unsystemic, FDIC insured depositor, everybody and their mother is going to run to the bank instantly.
Right.
There'll be literally a race. So every single bank has to be systemic now. Every single problem has to be systemic.
Or perhaps they don't have to, and their tactic here to move money to the big central bank so that they have the monopoly to push down this Fed Now or CBDC. That's the conversation for later here on Rumble. But Bix, okay, nice setup for that. And folks, go check out the bank run series here. Your deposits are not safe. I took it directly from the horse's mouth, so to speak. You can hear that there in Congress explaining that, yeah, indeed, that's happening right now. Even though that's not her intention, it is, of course, happening. And we saw earlier this week, too, that the run on the deposits is continuing in a rapid clip. And we're seeing more and more interest also in gold and silver. Speaking of gold and silver, Bix, what just happened in the last week here, too? And first of all, Friday, we closed over $24, which for a lot of people, that was a line in the sand. And this morning, we woke up to, holy shit, we're at 25. What just happened, Bix?
Well, I've been tracking the derivatives in silver, the big silver lease from JP Morgan to Bank of America, and when that lease would close out. And I've been saying for over a year now, check out the numbers. All these numbers expire in a year. And then that's what happened at the end of the year. And it went into this first quarter. And now the banks aren't really that short. It's the hedge funds and the momentum players and the technical traders that are short. So it's free and clear for silver to run. Again, we all know it's control of computer programs. We get excited about this, but put this into your mind. It's been 43 years since the first all-time high of $50. 43 years of money printing. The M2 money supply has increased about 20x. And yet the price of silver is still trading. We're right at 50% right now because it hit $25.
Right.
50% of its all-time high from 1980. This is insane. Silver is going to run so far, so fast. Nobody's going to keep up with it. Cliff High's prediction of unobtainium is coming true maybe faster than we think.
Yes, and he did send us a little note on that earlier today, so we're going to try to break that down later on the Rumble feed. So thank you, Bix, for both those introductions. Joe, let me bring up on the screen also on your YouTube channel last week, you kind of made some headwinds with your dream here about the banking system and perhaps not being able to withdraw more than $50 here. And oddly enough, the day you post that out, a lot of people were asking us during our live show on the Beyond the News show, and we did pull some cards on that, and it was like a big yes. But maybe more towards the end of April was the timing. Set that up for the audience members, talk about the dream, and then secondly, we'll talk about the Mr. T dream also carefully with some of the words here. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, so I mean, this is very recent. 3 days ago. There it is.
Yeah.
Well, it's the 1 marker 9 thing, but it was like whatever it was 4 days ago. I had this dream. I just got this dream, and I was inside of a bank, and it starts off with me inside the bank, and I'm looking kind of up because I see these balloons floating, and there's 3 or 4 balloons, and I could see they had contents inside them. It was stacks of money, cash, in each balloon, and generally speaking, they kind of look the same. Just all cash in each balloon. And all of a sudden, it like each balloon, and when I say it popped, it wasn't like a pop and then a little bit of a pause and then the next one. It was like pop, 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 like that quick. Pop, pop, and I'm waiting to see, the dollar bills dropping, and there's nothing to drop. It just, everything evaporated, was gone. The balloon was gone, the money was gone, and I go, whoa. So next thing, I'm sitting there, I'm again in this room, like this private room. I felt like I was in a private room in the bank. And it kind of had a thing you could see over, so people could technically see back in, but I was like ducked down, and I was working these combination locks, and it was like I'm like, but I was like a hacker. Like I'm listening. I'm like, oh, right there. Oh, right there. Click. Got it open. And it was mostly silver that was coming out. And a weird thing was there might have been some coins, but it's like there was like, I think out of 3 or 4 boxes, there was only like 3. And I don't want to call them coins because they look like some kind of jewelry or trinket of some kind, gold. And it wasn't big, 1, 2, 3. And then there was like silver, but it was like, there might have been some coins or things that you might recognize, but quite a bit of it was like, it's like it's melted down. Like it's just, and it wasn't even melted down nicely, like into some crude bar. It was just like, almost like someone set the damn torch on the thing and just, but it was small, maybe 10, 15 ounces in size or less. A few of those, and just different stuff that was gold and silver. And I'm like, okay, I can stuff that pocket full. I still got some left. Let me grab that. I'm like stuffing my right pocket full, and I'm looking at myself like, can I walk out without people see what's in my pocket besides them sticking out real big? And I just put enough in there, like I cleaned it out, and I was like, okay, I can do this. And right around that time, and first I'll say, I was like, as I was doing the locks, I'm like, telling myself, hurry up. No one's seen you yet. So like, I knew I was doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing.
Okay.
So I'm taking this as, you got safety deposit boxes out there, you better go get your shit out quickly, is what is my warning to you right now is. But I then look up, because I hear kind of something, and I look, and one of the bank guys is walking by, and he's like, hey, does anyone need any cash? We got some cash. And I'm like, yeah, can I get about 10,000? He goes, like, no, I can give you $50. That's it. And I'm like, well, I don't even want it. If it's 50, I don't care about that. I don't want it.
Yeah.
And and my notes were, because the banks were out of money. The money that people had in their accounts, they couldn't access it. It may have said it was there, but they can't get it. And this guy only had $50 to give you at that moment in time. I take that as something we may have seen in the past. I think BIX, was it Cyprus or Greece,
Cyprus,
when it was like $50 a day? Remember that? Like, that they could, or euros,
That's
something
exactly
like that back in, like back in 08, 9, whatever it was. So I'm assuming that's probably what I was being showed. And so like you're gonna be like rationed with your own money. So, then the scene kind of changed, and it was part of a second dream that was not related, but.
And let's, well, first, thank you for that, Joe. It puts us into perspective, because we're kind of maybe going to see that dream in fruition here very soon. But at the same time, you mentioned in our last show this dream about seeing Mr. T without the shirt, knowing he was about to be arrested. You were crying. You were wanting to do something, asking him if he could do something.
I was pretending to cry, to be clear, because I couldn't make tears come out for some odd reason. So
but you were emotional.
Yeah.
And you asked him, hey, should we do something? What was his answer?
Yeah, I went up to him and hugged him, and his hands were behind his back, like he's waiting for them, even though he wasn't arrested yet. They're coming. So I only have a few moments to talk to him. His hands are behind his back. And again, I don't know if you have the photo of him when he's walking off of the helicopter on the lawn and it's dark outside. He's got his red MAGA hat hanging on his right hand. He just kind of looks beat up. And that to me is like the strongest signal I've ever seen, that reminds me of like what I saw. His facial expression and everything about his demeanor was like that. But I walk up to him and I hug him, and I can literally, the detail is just amazing sometimes in my dreams. I'm like, he doesn't have a shirt on. I got my hands fully around him, and I can feel, like I said, I can feel his older man flab. But at the same time, I was kind of impressed with him, like, hey, this guy, this is not bad for a 70-something-year-old man, and like, it was just odd. But I wanted, my reasoning for asking the question that I'm about to say was because I had to check. I think I know the answer. That's the one. I think I know the answer, but I need to just double check. So I'm going to ask him, sir, do you need me to get the people involved? Like wink, wink. We'll free you. We'll start a revolution. Essentially, was what the dream was.
Right.
And he says, he looks down. And we're both in whispering distance, so nobody else can hear us. And he's like, no. Like, I mean, even quieter than I talk to him. Like, try not to move his mouth, almost like, no. Like, shh. No. So I'm like, okay, thank you. And then that was kind of it. So I woke up and I go, okay, trust the plan. It's just a TV show. Enjoy it. It's going to be great.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. And Mr. Woo Woo Dude, Richard, in the last couple of months, and actually in the last year of you being on the show, you've mentioned many, many times before that when we would get to this critical moments, we would see all of these black swans fall out of the sky at the same time. And now when we're looking at everything that's happening, including the events of today, there appears to be a lot of black swans coming out of the sky. Said that for the audience a little bit here who maybe have not watched those shows to understand how this was predictable, foreseeable, and how it appears that we're very much into that timeline now, or what Cliff High would call these temporal markers. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I just got to touch one subject. What the hell's up with this old man flap crap? Okay, give us a break, would you? God, we've been dealing with gravity a lot longer than you.
I'm gonna hug you when I see you.
Yeah,
Don't take offense.
Give me a break. A lot of these things are definitely occurring really rapidly. I've been getting a lot of new things. Now today, before I even knew I was going to come on this show, I was getting a song from Spirit. I don't know who writes it, but I know BIX. He knows everything about this stuff. But it's the song Everything is Beautiful in Its Own Way. I don't know who writes it, but they keep telling me for everybody, just listen to the song. It's very important. Now, another thing, and this comes with the black swans and everything. I need to just let this out. For the last 3 weeks, and again, I don't know who does this song. It's an old song, and it's Sandman, Sing Me Your Song. And instantly when I hear that, I'm brought to Saudi Arabia. And they said, understand, here's the true Sandman. And I went, what? Okay. I go, okay. So then they brought me to where Joe and I have talked many times about a tidal wave hitting New York. And what they kept telling me, it will come from Europe and come from that area and head this way. And they always said that the bonds would be released. But the other day, they said, take a good look at the tidal wave. Because again, BIX has such incredible knowledge with the bonds and all this. I don't have any. I just don't know what it is. So I looked really close at the tidal wave, and I looked at it, and it wasn't water. It was dollar bills. And then they said, now go back to what we showed you in the hospital. And then they brought me backwards to the vision of Putin punching the big guy in the face, right? Remember that? And his head turned into a toaster. He had a big dent. Dollar bills were coming out of my... I know, Bix. I was not on mushrooms either, okay? And all this money is pouring out. But the people in the stands that were watching this, okay, in the beginning, they were cheering for the big guy, and then it changed, like the Rocky movie in reverse. And all the people in the stands were people from other countries. And nobody came down to grab the dollars. I say, so when all this was happening, you're going, okay, what does this mean? Put a lot of discernment in it. But now we go a little further down. I go, holy shit. I says, here we are. And the Sandman is so powerful that it's going to create this tsunami of dollar bills somehow, okay, that this is all coming our way. And now the April showers to bring May flowers, that all came up because of one of BIX's clients had reading with me and wanted me to look at silver. And I did. And this was the first time they actually gave me a real timeline, which I thought was strange. And that's when they said April showers will bring May flowers. And then in May, in the month of May, is when I really started to see separation. Now, did it jump up to the $500? Per ounce? No, it did not. But it kept climbing, and you could tell there was truly a separation. But then, when I looked into April, what I told them, I felt such sadness. I felt people crying, emotional. And for April, didn't see that coming. Here today, gone tomorrow. And I felt it was like things people were going through. Then I started realizing it was one of the things, and it was many, was what was happening around the world with atmospheric issues, storms. And that we had talked about this many times over, that they would get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they would come out of the blue. Just there they are. And I know a lot of people believe that it is governments doing that. And I got, no, it is not. Okay. That it's coming from this issue that I keep bringing up, the crossing of the planets. And again, it could be Nibiru or whatever they want to call it, but they never said that to me. But these things are going to happen. And that the month of April was going to bring many tears to a lot of people. Now, a silver, okay, now this is something they said. It wasn't just silver and gold. It was all precious metals. So it could be any type of metal, seems to separate and start rising. All right. But the problem is for that to happen, I felt much sadness because it seemed a lot of things were happening. Okay. That you just get overwhelmed on, and you can feel it. It's like, okay, it's too many things that are happening here. And yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I'm looking for a couple of clips to relate to what you were saying now too, and including Cliff. He posted something the other day saying that when we get to this separation or words to that effect with silver here, that means that all hell is breaking loose. I'm paraphrasing here, but I'll try to find his tweet to bring that up. It makes a lot of sense. And also this idea of the not just the atmospheric rivers, all of this crazy weather we're having, but also the asteroids, I think ties into the conversation there. You were saying. Okay, so guys, this is the time now. We're going to move over to the Rumble feed. So let me bring that link back down to the live chat for you guys here on Joe's YouTube channel and my YouTube channel. So there you go. That's in the feed now. In about a couple of seconds here, we're going to remove ourselves from YouTube and meet you there on the Rumble feed, where we are at 5,600 something strong watching the show there. So let me just disconnect the YouTube feeds now. Yes, remove. And this one as well. Remove, remove, remove. There you go. So we're now live fully on Rumble, guys. Bix, let me start back with you here today. First of all, a big thank you, everyone, for that introduction. It really sets the stage for the conversation we're about to have tonight. We're supposed to see also perhaps a Trump speech here at Mar-a-Lago. I do have that queued up on the stream here. So I'll be monitoring that as we go through the show here on Rumble. Now, Bix, we saw in the last couple of days here, I guess, historical events. This is the first time we've seen a president or an ex-president here in our type of democracy being arrested in that way. I think it's a big precursor, and at the same time, it appears to be a big show. Now, I say that because there's a lot here that we don't know. Now, in the last couple of days, we saw Trump leaving for New York. We saw the car rides. We saw people on the street. We saw him arriving. So I'll get to some of that footage, including him with the fist up earlier today here, just as he was going into his arraignment. What's your gut feeling of what's happening right now? And I want to phrase it this way. Is this a Trojan horse type of thing where Trump's in charge, he's opening the door to these types of arrests only to perhaps extricate himself with exculpatory evidence maybe tomorrow or the day after, and then turning those guns right back on to perhaps some other more nefarious players here, including all the way up the food chain here in North America? Bix, what's your thought? Is this a Trojan horse?
We're on Rumble now, right?
Yes, sir.
He's a pedophile. He's a pedophile. Okay. Got that out of my system.
Okay.
I mean, the insanity of this happening in New York, where they had the laptop sitting at the New York on the desk. They had all the dirt on probably half the people in Congress in New York. Yes, of course it's a show. Yes, of course there's good guys behind this, playing it out, and it does absolutely opens the gateway to busting any politician, whether they're in office, out of office, doesn't matter if they're in Congress, in a local city government. After this, no one can bitch about getting busted, which is wonderful. And I like that show. That's the kind of show I want to watch. But then again, how many times can we go down this path saying, "Oh, it's just a show, and nothing happens"? Well, things happen. We just don't see it. We don't feel it. It feels like a never-ending show. But that's why I always come back to, hey, let Silver run, shut down the ATMs, and everybody's going to wake up instantly.
Oh, it's going to be a real rude awakening for sure. I had Ricardo Bossi on for the last War Correspondent show, and he did indicate that from the White House perspective, financial warfare was fair game on their side as well. And so what they were talking about was type of a gut punch moment, perhaps to wake up the deepest of sleepers here and get them to understand that we are engaged in a war and that we all need to take actions, not just to protect ourselves here, our loved ones, but also to be part of this new world, to create the new world that we want here as the old world is crumbling apart. Guys, go check out those last couple of episodes. We have 300,000 views on them. Really, really cool show. And the next one, of course, is going to be, I believe, what are we today? Tuesday. So Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern is going to be the next edition. You don't want to miss that. Joe, going back to you. So let's go back to the dream for a second. In your view, and first you can chime in on what the Big said too if you want, but in your view, when Trump said no, what did that mean for you? Other than, yeah, it's a show, it's organized. What's your gut feeling as to perhaps the strategy that's being played out here?
Yeah, when he said no, I don't want you to get the people and do anything, essentially is what he's saying. That was me going, okay, he confirmed to trust the plan. You're watching a show. He knows he's going to get arrested. He's playing his role. It's going to happen. But if you look at all this stuff, you know, like I was just, before you called me, I've got it playing live. So I'm listening like to both because I'm waiting to see if he says anything really important, you know, about this. But, you know, he's calling it election interference, what they just did to him. And we know that executive order he created about election interference. Very powerful tool. And Biden, by chance, kept it going while he's in office. It came up to expire. Biden, of course, we'll keep it going. So election interference is happening. What can they do about it? Well, they might want to go look at this executive order. So again, now they can use this precedent that is just set in New York against all of his enemies. All the Democrats, a bunch of Republicans too. From Nancy Pelosi to Peter Schiff, you name it, they can do it all. Just like they can now do, they can also go for their tax returns. We're going to look into the Hunter Biden stuff. We're going to look into Joe Biden, or Barack Obama. We're going to get it all because they always did it to him first, just like they raided his house for the declassified documents. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, oh, President Biden's got some too. Whatever happened with that, anyways? What was in those documents? Where did that story go? And they found some more, and they found some more. What happened? So again, just they're letting Trump handle it first, and then you'll find not guilty, not whatever. And then, oh, now we can use that precedent because all the leftists would freak out. No. They did it on Trump first. They did it to him. And then we're just doing it back. And guess what? He was found not guilty, but those guys were found guilty. You know, that kind of thing. So him saying no to me was me getting confirmation. If he would have said yes, I would have hated to have to do the video because I would have said, oh my God, the plan has failed. We're going to have to help him somehow. And I'd have to be extremely careful with what I said at that point because, oh, you're inciting another insurrection, Mr. JSNIP4. So he said, no, don't do anything. And then again, I get this dream not very long ago, just last month, where I'm giving a speech at a podium. He's right behind me, like I'm at his event. And I remember clearly, this is not a Trump rally, raise funds for his presidential campaign. It was something other that was a big event. Hey, Joe, go speak. All right. So I don't even know what I said. That doesn't matter because it's like I ended whatever it was. And I look back at him. And I'm like, well, Mr. President, I'd like to ask you a little special request or something. I'm like, when executions start for treason, can I get a front row seat? And he goes, you know, like one of those things, like, oh, you never know. And that was it. He didn't answer. I didn't, and the dream ended. So I didn't ask for that dream. I didn't ask for anything like it. Spirit was like, it's time to give you this because you need to know this right now. So again, if I'm to just, you know, first of all, let's just say my dream happened. He's been arrested essentially. He's been indicted. We're not going to arrest him, put cuffs on him because he's got Secret Service around him that are, you know, law enforcement. So we're not going to arrest him. Okay, whatever. So that happened. I saw that. I got the download in my backyard. I was just walking. It was 8 months ago, and I go, "Oh my God, the first arrest. You know, it could be him." So, or the indictment or whatever. So then, like 3 months after that, I actually get the dream of him getting arrested, which is about 5 months ago. And now I'm getting a dream where I'm asking him when the executions start. You're muted.
Hold on, Joe.
The Presidential Records Act, which was designed and approved by Congress long ago just for this reason. Under the act, I'm supposed to negotiate with NARA, the National Archives and Records Administration, which as of this date is a radical left troublemaking organization that red flags the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights as dangerous and triggering. Can you imagine? This is what we have to deal with. But there is no criminality under the Presidential Records Act. That is not what it's all about. We were negotiating in very good faith, proper way, in order to return some or all of the documents that I openly and in very plain sight brought with with me to Mar-a-Lago from our beautiful White House, just as virtually every other president has done in the past. When FBI and DOJ officials with NARA were here, I told my lawyer to show them the very secure storage room in which they were locked. The FBI's sole request in writing was, could you please put another lock on the door? We immediately complied. It's a lot different than the Biden situation, isn't it? The next thing I know, we were raided by many gun-toting FBI agents who took whatever they wanted, including my passports and medical records. Everybody was in shock. Nobody had ever heard of such a raid before. We can't even believe it. Who would think that that could happen today? I immediately thought of the Fourth Amendment that protects against unreasonable search and seizure. But they did it anyway because our justice system has become lawless. They're using it now, in addition to everything else, to win elections. Apparently, they're not looking at me through the view of the Non-Criminal Presidential Records Act. They came up with a new one. This is a new one. And they're looking at me through the Espionage Act. Think of that. How does that sound? Of 1917, where the penalty is death. Even though that has absolutely nothing to do with openly taking boxes of documents and mostly clothing and other things to my home, which President Obama has done, the Bushes have done, Jimmy Carter has done, Ronald Reagan has done. Everybody's done. In fact, Hillary Clinton got rid of 33,000 emails, and that was okay. But nobody's done it like Joe Biden. This lunatic special prosecutor named Jack Smith, I wonder what it was prior to a change, who others of his ilk say he is even worse than they are, is only looking at Trump, yet Joe Biden took massive amounts more documents, even removed many boxes to Chinatown. You believe that? Just got $10 million from China. Where did that come from? I guess they were banking on Hunter's expertise and had others stored in unsecured offices in Pennsylvania and strewn all over his garage floor, where his now very famous Corvette is also stored. All over the floor, including classified documents. But that's okay. Perhaps most importantly, he has 1,850 boxes in Delaware, which he is refusing to give up. But isn't that real obstruction? That's obstruction. As president, I have the right to declassify documents, and the process is automatic. If I take them with me, it's automatic, declassified. Biden was vice president. He had absolutely no right to declassify as vice president. He doesn't come under the Non-Criminal Presidential Records Act. He comes under the very criminal Federal Records Act, unfortunately for him, but it's not going to matter because they don't follow the law, which has very severe penalties. He had classified documents that he took while he was a senator, which is absolutely inexcusable. And other senators, including Democrats, are outraged. But he's not being harassed and hounded like the people who work for me are. In fact, they seem to have forgotten about his documents entirely. So many, thousands and thousands. It's okay with him. They like to say that I'm obstructing, which I'm not, because I was working with NARA very nicely until the raid on my home. But Biden is obstructing by making it impossible to get the 1,850 boxes or explain why many documents were located in Chinatown. Can't explain it. Why were they in Chinatown? I don't know. Lastly, I'm under investigation. This time a civil investigation by another racist in reverse, who also campaigned on, I will get Trump. I will get him. This was her campaign. Never ran for office. I will get him. Her name is Letitia James. And she proclaimed while campaigning, quote, "I look forward to going into the office of the Attorney General every single day, suing him, and then going home." Before she knew me, she announced, "What is fueling my soul right now is Trump." And that she had her eyes on Trump Tower. Those eyes are focused on Trump Tower. Didn't know the young lady. She even assured her supporters in an election promise that we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. He's going to know my name personally. Yeah. And then she claimed that I was an illegitimate president. Think of that. With all we did on energy, with all we did on the military, or taxes, biggest tax cuts in history, biggest regulation cuts in history, right to try, people able to get drugs now that aren't approved. Hopefully you don't have that problem. Letitia James vowed to use every area of the law to, quote, investigate President Trump and his business transactions. Those transactions are going to be investigated, she said. And that of her family and his family. Because we're going after his family, and we're going after them hard. This is all before entering office and all before knowing anything at all about me, but you're going to get me. This is why, along with unrelenting crime, so many people and companies are leaving New York. She said that I falsified my financial statements, but in fact, we're proving and will prove that my financial statements were substantially more than we submitted, not less. And in all cases, have a strong disclaimer clause in them, which tells the institutions that may look at that if they want to, not to rely on the statement. But they've got a problem with their case because, number one, I'm very underleveraged. They can't believe it. All the stuff they read and gave. And have very little debt relative to the value of assets. And importantly, not one bank has lost even $1. She was investigating me to save banks. They had very good lawyers. But they didn't lose $1 with us during this period of time. In fact, the banks we're talking about made almost $200 million off Donald Trump. And they liked me very much. We never missed a payment, never got a default notice, had a great relationship with all of them. I don't need banks. They have a lot of cash. I built a great business with my family, built a fantastic business.
Shall I go on here with this a little bit? We're trying to see if it's going to be the stat up for the maybe the current case and how that sets the Democrats up for their own kind of misdealings, or are you guys done? What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say let's just go back to this.
Okay. Okay, so thank you everyone for bearing with us here as we go through that speech. Joe, first of all, we had a lot of rumors in the last couple of days, and we saw some issues earlier today with communications, cell phone towers going down, internet going down. Here in Canada, cell phones, calls were being dropped, texts were not going through. And even tonight on our Rumble feed, we're going from 6,000, 7,000 live to 0, back up to, you see the numbers are going back up again. So I don't know what the hell's happening, and I can't follow the chat, guys. So I'm sorry if I can't follow the chat live with you guys. What was that about? What's going on? Is that a solar flare thing, or is that?
Oh no, that was intentional. Tori had mentioned it on her Telegram and stuff. That oh, what a coincidence! And there are some people in Europe having the same kind of problems. But there was about 3 things she posted today that I thought would be worth mentioning.
Okay, go ahead.
Senator Dianne Feinstein hospitalized in California, leaving Democrats without Senate majority. Tori says, sounds like they can't pass bills or something. And then she said, the president is insulated with a 40,000-foot view. They would be able to lock us all down. Pray that these assets with bullhorns fail, which they did. And then she said, this is the face that I love. Same face I make when and it's Donald. It's a kind of a good look at Donald Trump, a little side view. Like again, it's just going as planned.
Joe, I'm typing in here to get the slide here. This whole thing about not being able to make legislation, how does that tie into this famous remote viewing session here by Dick Allgaier and the crypto viewing team? Set that up for the audience.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily that ties into it. But we had Mitch McConnell, which dude, you mentioned one time not too long ago. We were talking about Pelosi and stuff, and all of a sudden you go, "Oh, Mitch, something about Mitch too." Like, oh, he's gonna have a problem too. And that was the first time I heard you mention Mitch, when it was quite a bit of Pelosi. And sure enough, Mitch McConnell got injured somehow. And Tory was posting like, oh, looks like he got beat up, poor guy. And then all of a sudden, well, it's worse than we thought. He's going to go home for now. And so he's out of session for now. He can't vote and all this. And now we have Feinstein, who was another criminal, from way back when, one of the right next to Pelosi, for God's sakes, figuratively and in real life. So, I mean, they don't have a majority now all of a sudden. Like, what are they trying to pass? They're trying to pass this Restrict Act, right? This thing that's like the Patriot Act for the freaking internet that will just silence anybody. Oh, that's a national security. Oh, okay, yep, he's not allowed to be on YouTube no more. Can't use a VPN no more. Can't do whatever anymore. Again, that's what they're going for. But I'm thinking maybe that's what she's showing that for. Like, oh, maybe they're going to try to push this little Restrict Act through, but they don't have a Senate majority all of a sudden. So everyone was worried about the Senate. Remember that? Oh, the Senate. The first time around, Q was saying, the Senate, we had to get the Senate. Well, okay, that's done. Next election, all of a sudden, we got the House now. But we didn't have the Senate. They have a little slight majority. And now all of a sudden, who saw this coming? As Woo would say, didn't see that coming. So, yeah, as far as the Rumble, you're muted. But as far as the chat, I'm sure it's because there's so many people watching Trump. And again, they might be hitting the whole thing with a denial of service attack for all we know, because of they want to shut him up.
Right. Well, we did our best to cover there. Let me go back to Woo Woo Dude here. As we got to the idea of this being a Trojan horse, we had some Democrats saying earlier this week that, perhaps the Trump indictment might have been a bad strategy. I'm like, perhaps? No shit, Mr. Shift. And we also have this. Hunter Biden is going to be indicted. So is Joe, Hillary, AOC. All thanks to Alvin Bragg opening Pandora's box, says Larry Elder. Richard, is it time to talk about the Biden thing? Can we talk about the Biden thing?
No.
Okay. I try every time you're on the show.
When it happens, you'll all know. You'll say, holy shit. That group picture seeing. See, they got one or two fingers. They're going, okay, your turn. Oh, shit, you're going down next.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, shoot.
I was watching your numbers go up and down. I said, shit, is there an election going on?
Guys, I want to bring up this tweet by Cliff High earlier today. I don't know if he's still in the chat. I can't monitor the chat now because of all the glitches we had, but he put out, buy silver, protect yourself. Do it today. Do it every day. Their collapse is near. Crush the system. The real protest is with money. I believe that to be the case.
And just my dream real quick, back to the bank room.
Yep.
Number one, I would never do what I did in the dream. I would not be in there stealing people's contents out of safety deposit boxes.
Right.
And I think there was a couple of messages that Spirit was giving me at the same time. Your contents in the bank, in those safety deposit boxes, are not safe. Go get them. Get your shit out of there as soon as possible. The second thing was, why was I only finding, there was nothing else but gold and silver, mostly silver. Like by a far shot, mostly silver. 3 little coin, not even coins, some kind of little trinket things that were kind of small. I don't even know if they were an ounce of gold each. I don't even think so. But there was quite a bit of these clumps of silver and little coins and things of silver. So it's like silver, 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 a little bit of gold. And so this message is twofold. Get your shit out of the safety deposit boxes because it's not safe. I don't care if you have a receipt. Oh, no. Get your shit out as soon as you can. Yep. And then secondly, there's something about gold and silver that some thief or thieves are going to be wanting really bad. So Big Weird knows all about it. What about the big warehouses that have all the paper contracts? Oh, we've got your silver in the warehouse. It's
allocated on the shelf. Don't worry.
Yeah. You mean like that big giant bag of rocks that was supposed to back, millions of dollars of nickel that they found the other day in the warehouse?
Yeah. Bix, why don't we get into that? Hold on. I'll play that clip too. Bix or Joe, do you have the email that Cliff sent today too with the timeline for how silver is going to move? I know this is in the old WebBot data reports. Joe, if you have it up, I'd like you to read that for the audience members. But
Very
Bix,
short timeline.
yeah, it's a short timeline, but
About the buck a day thing.
yeah.
Today,
that one.
$2 on Friday, and then unobtained $5, and then
Yeah, it was a buck a day, then $2 in a day, then by Friday $5 in a day, then 16 days until unobtaining. But as far as the original thing, it would hit $20 a day too.
Yeah, there was
The original WebBot thing mentioned 20 a day, and that's
Yeah.
when I was like, remember, like, guys, silver's $20 or whatever. If this thing's hitting $20 a day, what's the premium going to be on this stuff? Like,
yeah,
we already saw crazy premiums now. Like, you try to get an Eagle or a
Yeah.
Silver Eagle or something, it's like 10, 12, $15 over spot. It's like, wow, what's it going to be when silver's $100 or $600? That's spot price.
I know. The premiums we paid a couple of years ago, suddenly it'll be like, oh yeah, whatever. It won't even make a dent in the bank. Guys, again on Rumble, sorry about that. Like, I know you guys are trying to get to us with the comments there. I just can't see them. They keep coming on and off the screen, so we're having some weird issues. Bix, going back to this idea of if you don't hold it, you don't own it. There's new people every day coming to this. They're just dropping off. CNN, as we saw last week, they lost under 65% of the viewership in the last month, and they're wondering what the fuck's going on. What do I do? Talk to them about gold and silver, perhaps also crypto. We'll have to get into that here tonight too. There's a lot of questions still about XRP, the role of XRP here, and I know we have differences of opinions on the screen, and that's okay. We could share that and have an adult conversation for the audience members to find their own way into all of this. But first, Bix, talk about gold and silver, extricating yourself from the system, as Jen Sinclair used to say, get out of the system. Why do that now, and why do that in physical way as opposed to these paper contracts, as Joe was talking about?
Well, I think the main reason is third-party risk. I mean, you have your money in a stock market, bond market. There's no insurance for that, by the way. Even if your broker goes down, stocks might do great. Your broker goes down and poof, it's gone. There's something called SIPC insurance, which is this tiny thing that's paid for by the brokers. And it really is nothing. FDIC insurance in the banks, they got 128 or had 128 billion, and they insure like 18 trillion at a minimum. And that's just the insured deposits, not the uninsured deposits over 250,000. Now is the time, and I've been saying this for a long time. At the end of the day, you don't want to rely on anybody. You don't want to rely on the Fed. You don't want to rely on the FDIC. You don't want to rely on your government or your neighbor. You're going to need to get your hands on your own assets, get them in your own possession, and just ride it out. I mean, you're the only one who could screw that thing up. So, yeah, definitely now is the time that everything comes into question. We live in a faith-based system, meaning you have faith that the Fed is going to be there. You have faith that the U.S. government's going to be there. You have faith that the U.S. dollar can still buy you a loaf of bread tomorrow, when we've seen over and over again, these people are not to be trusted. So when trust is gone, no, we're not turning to the World Economic Forum for a new system. We're not turning to anybody for a new system except ourselves. We have on the books in the United States of America, at least, gold and silver is our money. Federal Reserve notes are not our money. That's their money. That's the bankers' IOUs. A Federal Reserve note is just that. It's a debt.